One of them is Pete Carroll addressing Russell Wilson. We're going to talk about that one first because that is actual news. We're going to dive into it. It is important to talk about. It's good to hear what he said. Then I got two absolutely positively crazy possibilities. We're going to leave it at that. And I want your opinion on what one's a little bit crazier. We're going to start with Pete Carroll here, who brought on who was on speaking on What the Football, excuse me. Sorry, wanted to get that right. Knew it was associated with the Rich Eisen show. Wanted to make sure that we did everybody good. What the Football was asked very directly about Russell Wilson and the rumors that immediately emerged with everybody saying he is a name to watch, a player to watch for the Las Vegas Raiders. I went on here and said, I said a lot and then ended it with, I wouldn't have these conversations if I didn't hear things, okay? If I didn't get phone calls, if I didn't have conversations that made me think that, well, maybe this has something behind it. Pete Carroll just pretty much put a stamp on it and said, yeah, it's all true. When asked about the situation, he said, quote, "It's so early and we're just in the midst of trying to find the puzzle pieces, not even putting them together yet. So I can't even say free agency hasn't come yet." But then he added this: "I promise you, if you're a real competitor, you're not letting options get away from you." I mean, Pete, all you had to say was, yeah, we'll consider him, because would have saved you a couple of words, would have saved us a couple of minutes typing this out and transcribing, would have did less on social media with the clip. But he pretty much said, yeah, we're going to consider Russell Wilson. At least that's how I took it, is Russell Wilson is on the table. Doesn't mean definitely. A lot of pieces have to get worked out, but why wouldn't we consider Russell Wilson? I mean, do you feel differently?
No, it sounds like something where he could have put it to rest, but he didn't want to put it to rest. I would say what this does is tell me that there's a chance that he goes after him, but it also tells me that there's multiple quarterbacks that he has his eyes on, that he wants to make sure that he knows everybody that will come to Vegas before he says who Vegas wants to go out and get. But it is interesting that he didn't rule it out, because obviously everybody immediately made that connection, and he could have just said, hey, listen, we're going in a different direction. But right now it just sounds like that's one of the directions we could go, but there's only a handful that we might go.
That's exactly. There's only a handful that we might. Obviously, Russell Wilson's an option. He's an option for any team that needs a quarterback. But there are going to be teams, there are going to be insiders, there are going to be coaches, there are going to be Art Rooneys who say our preference is so-and-so. Pete Carroll said, if I'm a competitor, man, I'm open to whoever's going to make this team the best. Gardner Minshew isn't that guy. Maybe it's Aiden O'Connell. Possibly, very possibly, it's Russell Wilson. I mean, it's a wait and see game, and I'm sure that it comes down to money in the long run. Let me ask you this, and this isn't Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. This is just everything. Do you think Russ is going to look for money, like a good chunk of money in free agency?
I mean, he can look for it. I'm not sure he's going to find it.
But do you think that's a priority of his?
I don't know. I don't know Russ personally. He's made a lot of money, and his wife makes and will make a lot of money for the remainder of her life. So yes. I'm not sure how much money is a factor. I know he wants to play, and I think that's the biggest thing for him, is getting the opportunity to play. And I think secondary would be trying to win a championship. And I'm not sure there's very many teams outside. I don't think there's very many, if any, teams that he can go to and immediately make them a championship contender, because those teams already have their quarterbacks. So I think that first and foremost will be a starting opportunity where there's a lot. And I think that trying to go to the team that gives him the best shot will probably be second, with money being third.
Okay. I'm interested to see, because when you hear Russell talk, and it makes complete sense, like that you connected every dot there. Like when you hear Russ talk, it's, I want to play forever. I want to be started in this league. I want to compete for a Super Bowl. But he's said things like long-term deal. Art Rooney made it known that it's a two-way street and you have to negotiate with these guys. It just kind of feels like at some point you're a quarterback and you realize that quarterbacks make a lot of money. No matter how good you are, you make a pretty good amount of money. And I think I'm curious to see if that comes into play. I really am, because I think that limits Russ, but I also think he's going to get it. I think the Giants would be stupid enough to throw 2 years, $40 million a year at him. You know, I think the Jets would do something crazy like that. I think the Titans, if they get desperate enough at any point during this process, could say, let's go with Russ over Will and draft Travis Hunter because that immediately makes us better. I just think that there are names out there. I don't know if Vegas is one of them, but I'm not going to shut down Vegas being one of them. Why wouldn't Mark Davis say, we're going to pay you? We want to try to win a Super Bowl. Mark Davis is a win a Super Bowl head coach or a Super Bowl owner, and he just hired a win a Super Bowl head coach. Why not go get a quarterback that you think could go win a Super Bowl? That'll be Russ. I mean, I'm just curious. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I am curious.